clearly the Liberals intentionally blew over $1 billion to save a couple seats in that election campaign, and then intentionally covered that up from taxpayers. We need two things. We need a judicial inquiry to actually tell us how much this cost taxpayers and to hold everybody accountable who stole from taxpayers. And secondly, more importantly, we need to change government. I don't know what else they have to do before Andrea Horwath and the NDP come to that same realization that people across the province have already come to.
I was not in the Premier's office until February 11th. I had no access to what the former Chief of Staff was or was not doing. I did not direct the activities in the Premier's office until February 11th. I had no knowledge and no ability to direct any of the activities.
Ontario Premier Kathleen Wynne is in damage control mode after police allegations put the gas plant scandal back into the spotlight. Ontario police allege that former Premier Dalton McGuinty's Chief of Staff oversaw a mass purge of emails related to the billion-dollar gas plants affair. Now, Sun News contributor Adam Giambrone joins me now in the studio. And Adam, I guess the question everybody's asking, what is the woman, the most powerful woman in Ontario, Andrea Horwath, what is she going to do? Is she going to vote these guys out of power?
Well, I don't know, of course. I mean, she's, I think, looking at the situation as we all are with amazement. I mean, you see, it just, I mean, we kind of thought this was dying down. I think a lot of people had sort of assumed this was receding. And then all of a sudden we have a really explosive accusation that, you know, not just maybe a political maneuvering, but potentially actually criminal charges against the Chief of Staff of the former Premier. So, of which cabinet Kathleen Wynne actually served into. So when it comes down to this election, and which is going to come at some point, I think a lot of people are I think what the NDP wants to look at is what's the balance. We don't have a mechanism to bring the government down today. As people may not know, unlike in Ottawa, there is no other motions. Really, it's very limited. It can only be around a budget. So we are somewhat limited on that, and we've got to figure out how this is going to proceed.
Now, Andrea Horwath this afternoon issued a release, an open letter to Kathleen Wynne, and she also called, as Tim Hudak did, for a judicial inquiry, look into a formal investigation into this matter. But what she didn't add is a sentence saying, and if I don't get it, here's what's going to happen.
You know, but when, I mean, this is the game that Tim Hudak is playing, and Tim Hudak has been on this goal to have an election for, well, at least a year and a half, and he's, you know, made himself totally somewhat irrelevant. He could be part of this power that would actually force an election if he hadn't already set himself aside. I think you see a very different style with Andrea, no less committed to actually holding the Liberals accountable, no less committed to getting, you know, to the bottom of it, but on the other hand, actually trying to balance the fact that they're supposed to be in the legislature to govern.
Well, let me ask you about that, because you're one of the smartest people I know. And the word balance, the word balance is the key thing. You know, on the one hand, you've got the rhetoric of the NDP, as well as the Conservatives, saying, you know, this is shocking and explosive. Those are some of the words that Andrea had in her letter. But then at the same, by the same token, a consideration of actually keeping this shocking and explosive government, you know, this mess, keeping it going. How do you do that without getting hurt in the way that Tim Hudak clearly wants to hurt you?
No. I think, first of all, we don't know, well, sorry, I'll step back. There's no mechanism today to bring down the government. So issuing idle threats is irrelevant. I mean, she could say, you know, we demand an election right now. That doesn't really accomplish things. What Andrea has built her brand on, and I think it's been fairly successful, whether you agree with it or not, has been being willing to be reasonable. And you know, the polls have suggested that people actually take her at her word because of her actions. So when it comes down to this, today, there is no way, no matter what the NDP says or writes, that they can bring down the government. And in fact, depending on when the budget is introduced in the House, there may not be a legal mechanism to bring them down until the fall. So, you know, you could issue an idle threat, and at the end of the day, it wouldn't do anything. So let's continue to push for a judicial inquiry. Let's get some answers. And when the time comes when there's actually a mechanism to bring down the government, that's when you can have a real debate about the issue.
Well, with this one, and we're going to continue to debate it, obviously. Thank you so much to Adam Giambrone for coming in to talk about this.